Hey, it's Scott. I want to talk about marketing for record labels. That's the theme of this series. And today I want to talk about post-release strategies. What does that mean? Well, there's this issue that happens that there's so much momentum leading up to an album release or a new single. And it's easy to build that momentum because people haven't heard the music yet. They don't have access to it. There's something exclusive and mysterious about the album. But as soon as it's released, that all goes away. And that becomes a little bit of a problem because it's harder to get people's attention or to get people excited about something that's already out. And we as a society and culture, we kind of look for things that are new and novel, and we move on to whatever the next album that we're anticipating. We do this as music fans. And so as record labels or as DIY artists, this post-release momentum or lack of momentum is something that we need to work towards and repair. And that's what I want to talk about today. I have 3 things that we can do to keep in mind to get better at promoting our releases that are already released. Before I do that, I want to encourage you to go to my website, otherrecordlabels.com, where you can get a marketing checklist. So as we talk about marketing for record labels, I have a checklist that will help you and has some of the things that I like to do leading up to a release and after a release. So go to otherrecordlabels.com/marketing to get that checklist. So the first thing I will recommend, and this comes from my friend Jamie Coletta from No Earbuds, who's a great music publicist, and she said the idea is to make a post-release strategy that is equivalent to your pre-release strategy. So everyone has, we make this plan that leads up to a release, but nobody has a plan for after the release. So what is my first piece of advice? My first piece of advice is to actually make a strategy for after the album is out. So if you do this whole plan with releasing a music video and then a few singles and then a couple of appearances leading up to the album, make the same sort of plan for after the single is out or after the album is out. It's as simple as that. And so what we need to do is, while we're working towards the album or when the album's out, that's when we start to plan and we see, what do we have to work with? Are there B-sides that we could release? Can we do an in-store performance or a live performance, or is the band going on tour? All those sorts of things. Maybe the vinyl release or the cassette release comes out a couple of months after or a couple weeks after the digital release, whatever. Those are the things that we want to plan for and we want to use to promote the record that's already released. So the first tip is to make a post-release strategy that rivals your pre-release strategy. Now, the second thing to do is to think about, how do I learn about music? And so you think about, how do I listen to music? And most of the new music that I discover is something I've discovered that's already out. Now, maybe it's release week and somebody's tweeting about it, but more often than not, it's something that's recommended to me by a friend or some sort of algorithm. And it's something that's been out for weeks, months, years. And so we want to think about how we as music fans discover music and then try to adopt some of those channels or some of those ways that we've discovered music and use that to promote the records that we've already released. The third and final thing is to save content or to save assets to use for after the release. So let's say it's normal to have 2 or 3 pre-release singles. And I've said this before, and some artists don't like saying this, but if you have an album that has 11 songs, maybe make that album have 10 songs and save one of those for after the release. So you could do a single in 6 months from after the release to bring attention to the release. I've also done things like acoustic versions of albums. I've done instrumental versions of albums. I've done B-side songs that just didn't make the cut for the album, but I released them as singles, but tie them back to the original album. So the idea is save content. Maybe you have 2 music videos for the album. Well, release one prior to the release and then save one for after the release. So don't give away everything that you have leading up to the release, and then you're left with, we've shown all the photos, we've done all of the in-store performances and live performance videos from the artist's living room, we've given away all of our music videos. This is a big problem. So just recap, make your post-release strategy as big as your pre-release strategy, and think about how you discover music after it's already out and try to go after some of those channels. And third and final is to save content from the pre-release and to use later in the post-release. I hope you found this helpful. I know it's a weird topic, but it is one of the most challenging things for labels and for artists is to keep an album alive after release date. I hope you found this helpful. Go to otherrecordlabels.com/marketing to download my free marketing checklist.